From the Cannabis Collective Retreat, I'm Peter with The Other Magazine. I'm here with Melissa Vonder Haar, the hemp beverage industry's leading voice and chairwoman of CSP, C-Store Cannabis Board, and managing director of TradeWorks. Hi, Melissa.
Hi, Peter. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're literally writing the playbook for cannabis in convenience stores. What's the biggest misconception people have about hemp beverages in mainstream retail?
Oh boy, that's a big question and also a big honor you just gave me. I don't know if I would put it that way. I'm maybe the loudest voice and I've been doing it the longest. But in terms of misconception, and I know we're going to hit on this, but it's the gas station weed.
Well, let's get right into that. Yeah.
It's one of the biggest chips on my shoulder. And, I was just reading a story yesterday about gas station heroin. So I may be fighting a very uphill battle on this. But when you look at the majority of what's being sold at convenience stores, which include gas stations, however, there are a not insignificant number of convenience stores that do not sell fuel, what you see is primarily hemp beverage. That is where the industry is really putting its energy behind. It is a natural fit for the category or for the channel. They already sell beer. They sell the most beer in the world. 7-Eleven sells more beer than any retailer, including bars, in the entire world. So there's a very easy home. They know how to sell it. It's great for trial. It's a singles business. So for a new category like that, it's fantastic. So when you say gas station weed, if you're saying that, you're talking down the entire hemp beverage category. And those products are being sold at Total Wine. They're being sold at ABC Liquor. They're being sold at high-end hemp shops and dispensaries. So when you say, a can or a Delta or any number of products, if you say gas station weed, you're talking down those products too. You don't say gas station Coca-Cola. You don't say gas station Doritos. To me, what's so offensive about that is it's talking down a category as a whole. And I am learning that a lot of people say that referring to the flour that's being sold at some gas stations, but I think more vape shops and smoke shops. As somebody said to me on LinkedIn, smoke shop weed just doesn't have the same ring to it. Yeah, that's bad. That should get out of the market. I don't think anybody disagrees with that, but convenience can sell hemp beverage like nobody's business. Why? Because they sell every other alcoholic product that they legally can, and they do it responsibly, and they sell tobacco responsibly, and they sell lottery responsibly, and in some states, they sell ammo responsibly.
So what's your strategy in elevating quality and consumer confidence?
Sure. Convenience has been through this before. They do emerging categories all the time. It was the birthplace of the vapor movement. It was the birthplace of modern oral nicotine. It was the accelerator for energy drinks. So I think, doing it responsibly, making sure you know about age gating. I think dosage is going to be really big. It is an entry-level channel. Most people going into a convenience store, they don't expect to find THC there. A lot of them might not know what dosing means. So if you have a 25 milligram, a 50 milligram, those high dosage that for many people, my husband had a 50 milligram drink last night and said he barely felt it. He's a high consumer. But for an entry-level point, you got to go low dose. And I know that's not what we're seeing in liquor. I know it's not necessarily what you're seeing in dispensary. But for convenience, I think it's really, really important to have those low-dose options, to have the education. And for convenience, they know the other parts. They know to ask for a COA. They know to ask what the return policy is if they're, say, in a state like Alabama that suddenly, guess what, you're not allowed to sell this anymore. So I think the education, both for convenience retailers as well as for their consumers, their shoppers in those stores, are going to be really, really key for building consumer confidence. Not just for convenience store cannabis, but for the category as a whole. Because if somebody has that intro point and it's bad, that could ruin their experience forever. They might say, this doesn't work for me, or I hate this. I never want to go to a dispensary. And that's bad for everyone.
Well, let's take your crystal ball out. What does the industry look like, beverage industry look like 2 years from now?
Oh boy. If we had a different administration and congressional setup, I'd feel a lot more comfortable answering that. I learned long ago, I started covering convenience and cannabis when Colorado went legal. They framed it as treat marijuana like alcohol and tobacco. With my background, I went, hey, nobody sells more alcohol and tobacco than the convenience channel. We should be paying attention to this. And, I was a 29-year-old kid, so I think I was overly optimistic, going, oh, yeah, in 10 years it's going to be federally legal, and Anheuser-Busch is going to be selling this, and Miller Coors is going to be selling this. That obviously didn't happen yet. But at the same time, the industry's attitudes toward it, when I first started covering this, nobody would go on the record saying that they wanted to be in cannabis. They all said off the record, I am scared to bring this to my CEO because I don't want to be the stoner guy. And thanks to a lot of work of the people here, that identity, that stigma has changed. And now the convenience industry is actively wanting to be in it. I know for a fact major CPGs are watching it. Some are investing. Others will certainly get in it as soon as it's legal. So the question is, how much are the states and the federal government going to allow for it? If you take that away, if it was just naturally going to evolve, I think in the next 2 years, you could see major players in this space. And you see this as, you see this in the distributors already. It's the fourth category. And to me, I think it could go even bigger because we've never seen a category like this before, because it's not just the social lubricant, the alcohol replacement. There's plenty for that. That's perhaps a low dose. You have folks like my husband who are high dose. And then you also have people that need it for functional. And I don't think we've ever seen a CPG category with all of those opportunities. And beverage is such a natural entry point. But I think beverage can drive not just beverage consumers and not just hemp consumers, but cannabis consumers, because it brings them on board and helps people realize THC is pretty freaking awesome.
Let's go to the reg side. You're the chair of the C-Store Cannabis Board. So, what regulatory changes do convenience retailers need to operate successfully?
Sure. I mean, ideally, what they would like to see is regulatory clarity. I think there's a huge amount of support for a low dose at mainstream retail. So whatever you end up defining low dose as, I think industry-wide, there's a lot of momentum behind 10 milligrams or less, but that might evolve as the category evolves. But they want the certainty to say, yes, you can sell this, and here are the guardrails to make sure your consumers are protected. And by the way, collect some taxes so you can enforce against the bad actors. What they really need to see, though, is things like Alabama, Louisiana, Tennessee. They all locked convenience out specifically. And I know that's, for the industry, yes, it's positive to have some regulations that say, here is a path forward for hemp. It is just such a bummer for that industry to be locked out, especially when, ironically, those regulations allow vape shops to still sell hemp beverage.
Right.
And to me, that makes no sense. Convenience is so based on compliance. Like, a huge percentage of their sales come from age-restricted products. It comes from tobacco. Cigarettes are still the number one in-store seller for convenience. That's going down. It's why hemp beverage and hemp products are a huge opportunity. But the notion that somebody can sell cigarettes and not a 5 milligram or a 2 milligram hemp beverage, it's such the wrong message. Right. So for the convenience side and for the C-Store Cannabis Board, one of the things we're going to focus a lot on is regulatory advocacy for 2026, especially at the state level, to tell the story of, one, convenience wants to be in this space, and convenience can be an ally for age gating and keeping it out of the hands of minors.
You mentioned the word opportunities, and I was thinking opportunities in the convenience channel. Tell what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, so these are facts that me, as somebody that's been in the convenience space, honestly, I grew up in it. My dad was the small format VP for Anheuser-Busch. So I grew up going to 7-Eleven trade shows. I grew up going to the National Association of Convenience Store trade show. I know that channel really, really well. But there are facts that people that don't know it or don't necessarily think about it, they need to be educated on. And it's why it's such a huge opportunity for any emerging product, any emerging category. So the convenience store channel is 150,000 stores. And I just want to put that in perspective. There are 45,000 liquor stores. There are 45,000 grocery stores nationwide. There are 68,000 bars and nightclubs. No other channel comes close. Oh, and 15,000 dispensaries. So when you talk about touch points for consumers, it's convenience. And partially because they sell so much fuel. A gas station or a convenience store that sells fuel has 1,100 people going through it in a day. There is just no other channel that you get that much exposure. And they thrive on beverage. It's, I mentioned cigarettes. Pack Bev is actually the top profit item for convenience.
Wow.
People go in there and want something cold, and they want it in a single, which for a new category, if I were somebody that had never had THC before, and say I didn't have much interest in it, but then I saw it, and I saw a single, which, even at $4 or $5, like a beer, that is so much more approachable than investing in a multi-pack at a liquor store. If you've never had it before, if you don't know if you're going to like it, one is the way to go. And especially with on-premise, a lot of states are locking them out. That's usually with beverage where trial happens. However, for cannabis, if somebody's never had this, and I encounter this on my daily life all the time because I have so many samples, thank you everybody for those. It's always out at our barbecues, and people say, oh, I'm a little nervous to try this in front of other people. So with this category, I actually think off-premise is going to be really important. So having that access to an affordable, approachable single or a shot or some of those more portable options as an impulse is huge. The other stat that I will share is that almost 90% of Americans live within 10 minutes of a convenience store. And like here in New York, not that big a deal.
Right.
We're from Brooklyn. Like I expect to be within 1 minute of everything. But when you look at Wyoming, I grew up in Missouri, parts of rural Missouri, the convenience store isn't just where you go to get gas. It is the grocery store. It is the quick service restaurant. Sometimes it's where you go to buy guns. They really serve the communities. So, for cannabis folks, especially on the hemp side, you should be advocating for this channel to be a part of it because it's what unlocks all of those consumers that all of us have been wanting to get on board.
Great. Really, thank you, Melissa. Last question.
Yeah.
What's in your stash? What's in your personal rotation these days?
It's interesting to watch that evolve since I became a mom. My husband and I bonded in part because of how much we both love cannabis. Like, I think it was our second date. He was like, oh, you like this? And then promptly bought me a pipe. So I used to be a big flower girl, and I still am a little bit. My husband grows in our basement, and it's really, really great. And he's done some higher CBG and higher CBD options for me because what I found after having children is that I couldn't do the high doses anymore and that I got this really big waves of anxiety. It's part of why I really like beverage. It's a lot more controllable for me. So I always have some kind of beverage stash option in my purse. I have a couple roadies from Cann in my purse. I love the off-duty products. To shout out a Cannabis Collective. Thank you, Peter, for those. But yeah, I'll kind of alternate between flower and beverage. But beverage is definitely, I'm a true believer in it.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.